What we do in the gastro world is we do things that have already been done many, many times, so we try to do them a little bit better and a little bit more consistently. And some of us are more creative than others. You know, I don't try to be too creative. I try to do the food that we do as well as we possibly can. And the recipes that we use, yeah, they're mine, but they've also been passed down through generations and generations of barbecue people, right? So I consider restaurant owners to be small business owners. And even if you own 10 or 20 restaurants, you're still a small business owner in my mind. Which means that your job is to get incrementally better every single year and show some incremental growth every single year. I would say that the number one thing, if you're looking to go from chef to owner or from, you know, general manager to owner, is to remember that products don't sell themselves, right? And it doesn't matter how good your product is, whether your product is food or cocktails or the service and the atmosphere you provide, none of that sells itself. So getting people in the door for the first time is horrendously difficult. If you're good at what you do, once they come in once, they'll come back again and they'll tell their friends, and you'll build up momentum and you'll build up a self-sustaining machine. But getting people in the door that first time is horrifically difficult, and it's not remotely connected to any of the skills that we learn with our boots on the ground, actually working in restaurants and bars. I was born and raised in New York, and then I lived in New Orleans for a few years, which is where I got my love of Southern cooking. Then I moved back to New York, where I went to culinary school and worked in some really fantastic restaurants for some amazing chefs. I did my apprenticeship at Craft Restaurant, which is owned by Chef Tom Colicchio, one of the most famous chefs in New York. And the guys who worked for him, who trained me there, were just phenomenally talented. Then I worked for the Soho House, a multinational chain of kind of private clubs for the entertainment industry, and then for Chef Laurent Tourondel at BLT Steak. And in all those places, you know, you asked about the kind of the highlights before I opened up Dirty Dog. It was always working for such talented people, and I was very lucky that so many of them took the time out of their days and out of their busy schedules to take me under their wing and teach me and really take an interest in my career. He was about 12 levels above me.
Okay.
And it was, you know, he owned several restaurants at that time. So I think I only met him once or twice, to be completely honest. But it was the guys who worked for him. You know, his chef de cuisine, senior sous chef, junior sous chefs, line cooks, all the way down to little apprentice Isaac.
Yes.
Those are the guys who I spent the most time with. Well, after a number of years of working in kitchens in New York, I decided to take a little bit of a break and travel for a little bit. And my plan was originally to spend about 6 months, maybe a year, traveling through Europe, and then go home and really focus on my career. So that, yeah, I don't know what the hell happened there. 13 years later, I'm still here. So I moved out here, and I got a job teaching English, and that was okay for a few months, maybe a couple of years. But there's not much future in that, and it's certainly not the job that I was trained to do for most of my life. It's certainly not anything that I'm in love with. Well, if you're calling yourself a gastro entrepreneur, I certainly hope you have at least some experience working for successful gastro entrepreneurs. And I don't like the word entrepreneur. When somebody calls himself an entrepreneur, I assume they're doing something in tech or they're building a startup. They're trying to disrupt something, and that's not what we do in my world, right? That's what Manifesto does. Manifesto is a wonderfully disruptive force in the startup world, doing things that nobody has ever done before, right? Not Box Park, not Chelsea Market in New York. Nobody has done what Manifesto has done. It's disruptive and it's amazing. That's not what we do. It doesn't matter how good your food is. If your service is off, if your atmosphere is off, if your interior is off, people will not come back. And we've seen it over and over again, even in New York, which is a city that's really focused on good food. Restaurants with good food, but everything else is bad, they close. And restaurants with bad food, where everything else is tight and works, they're more likely to succeed. And from a chef's point of view, that sucks. But it means that we need to get out of our bubble of only focusing on the kitchen and thinking that this is all that matters. And we need to see the whole big picture. It means that we need to, especially, which is tough for those of us who were raised in kitchens, we need to learn how to use computers better. We need to get comfortable in our office. We need to understand that the higher you get and the better, the more successful you get, the less time you're going to spend in your kitchen with your kitchen crew, which is, for me at least, the reason I got into this business. That's what I love. But as you move on, you got to be really comfortable. You got to be more comfortable with spreadsheets than with a grill.